Hi everyone, welcome to day 3 of 30 Days to Us. 30 Days to Us, for all those folks who haven't joined us, is our way of showing all the brides out there, how to plan their wedding in 30 days. So hi to all the viewers online. Hi, how are you? And hi to all the replay viewers. Glad you were able to join us, whether you're live or whether you decided to look at the replay. The replay for all of our videos that we'll be showing during this video series will be available forever, as long as you're a member of the Facebook group. So welcome. Welcome to the group. Alrighty. So today we talked about, yesterday we talked about 3 different things that you needed to do to start your wedding planning process. So let me start all over with what we're doing here. 30 Days to Us is a live video series that of course we're doing right here on Facebook Live to show brides across the country how you can plan your wedding in 30 days. Okay, how whether it's 60 days, a year, 2 years, 6 months, we're all when you're planning your wedding, you're actually working from the same checklist. Okay, you have a little bit more time or you have a lot of time, so it just depends. But either way, you can accomplish getting your wedding planning done within 30 days, just as easy as you can get it done, of course, in a year, and with a lot less stress. Okay, a lot less stress. Hi Sean, thanks for joining. So that's what the whole video series is about. So we started on September 5th, so from September 5th until October the 5th, we are going to show you how, step by step, using the standard checklist that you see out there for weddings, in reference to all the different things that you have to do, have to purchase, have to track, have to buy, people you have to manage in your wedding party, bridal party. The checklist is the same, but we're going to show you how you can do that stress-free and show you how it can be done just as efficiently with a good plan within 30 days. So our last day will be 10/5, and we have a fictitious couple that we're using. Their name is Aaliyah and Michael. Okay, Aaliyah and Michael. So Aaliyah and Michael live here in the DMV area, just as I do. Again, my name is Denise, and I'm the owner of Umbra Bride and Groom. We have a event design and calligraphy service here in the DMV area, as well as we help brides or people who are having events across the country virtually. So Aaliyah and Michael live in the DMV area. Okay, and they've decided to get married in 30 days. So we're going to track that process with Aaliyah and Michael and show you how it's done with real people, well, real fictitious people, with a real scenario that has 2 people who have a budget and they have things to do, and we're going to walk you through real places that they or things that they have to do in regards to that process. Yesterday, when we talked through the 3 things that need to be done first when it comes to wedding planning, because that was day 1 of the wedding planning process, first thing they needed to do was create a budget. So we just stepped through that very quickly to show them how that was done. Next, they had to select, and they did. They created their budget, and the second thing that they needed to do was to find a venue, and they did that as well. So they created their budget, $20,000, and they're having their wedding at Moshulu, which is a event location in the Philly area in the harbor. It's actually a huge ship. It's really nice, but you can get a little bit more detail if you watch the replay from yesterday's video. And the third thing they needed to do out of those 3 quick steps, well, they're not quick. Usually, since it's 30 days, they would have all this week to accomplish the 3 things: create the budget, find a location, and then lastly, because they're getting married in such a short time, they need to let everybody know that that's happening so that the people that they want to be there will be able to come. So what we decided to do was to have them select online save the dates. Okay, online save the dates and online invitations. Now we talked through a little bit of that yesterday, and again, if you want to get a little bit more detail on that, just watch the replay. So today we're going to focus on digging a little deeper into one of the three things that needed to be done first, which was the budget. So today we'll dig a little deeper into the budget process and why we budget, what do we budget for, what are the 5 major factors or elements of a wedding that you budget for, and then what does it really cost, okay, based on those 5 major costs of elements of a wedding. So we'll talk about that today, and then tomorrow we'll dig a little deeper into the process of selecting a venue, whether it's 1 location, 2 locations, and all those different things you need to consider when you're selecting your venue. And lastly, based on those first 3 tasks that need to be done, we'll talk through selecting your save the dates and invitations and what you need to consider in reference to that. Okay, so let's get started with the budget. Okay, so why do you need to create a budget? Okay, now Aaliyah and Michael created a budget of $20,000 and they use Aisle Planner. Okay, Aisle Planner is a wedding, or it's actually not a wedding, but an event planning tool that you can use to track all of the tasks you have to perform as you are planning your wedding, from the save the dates, venue locations, managing all your vendors, managing your guests, RSVPs, thank yous, all the way down to your honeymoon. Okay, so you can manage every aspect of your wedding using Aisle Planner. We love it. So what we're going to do is to actually, I'm getting ready to open it up right now. I don't like to do a lot of talking. I like to show people a little bit of what needs to be done. I think that's where we are lacking in some things. We talk about it, but we don't show people. And I truly believe that people learn more by watching or by you showing them how to do things or letting them touch and feel things. Now we're virtual, so you can't touch anything, but you can certainly see what I'm talking about. So what I'm doing now is I'm opening up Aisle Planner. Aaliyah and Michael decided to use this online tool so they can manage their wedding. And I'm going to flip over to that so we can talk about their budget. Okay, so I'm going to switch right over. Alrighty, so this is Aisle Planner. Okay, ISLEPlanner.com. Okay, again, it's a wedding tool that you can use to manage every aspect of your wedding, from the checklist or all the things you need to do, calendar, all the way down to the seating, okay, and managing your guests. All right, so that's Aisle Planner. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on the budget tab here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the budget and why you need it, and the 5 different major aspects of a wedding that you need to track in your budget. Okay, so we decided yesterday that Aaliyah and Michael, they decided that based on their incomes, where they live, what they're working with, that their total cost that they would like to spend on their wedding between the 2 of them and everything that needs to be done is $20,000. Okay, and how did they determine that? They determined that, I'm sure, based on their income, okay, based on savings, based on any input from family members such as their mother and father. Now, back in the very long time ago, I would say, there were a large majority of folks who got married, their parents paid for the wedding but with our economy now, and over the past 10-20 years, that hasn't been happening a lot for us. Okay, most people pay for their own wedding. They don't have the luxury of having a parent or both parents paying for the wedding, especially the traditional way of doing that is via the bride. The bride's mother and father would pay for the wedding, but we've lost a lot of that with the cost of living in certain areas and the economy. Okay, so Aaliyah and Michael are paying for their own wedding. They don't have that luxury. So they've come midway in cost. A wedding budget can be anywhere from, depending on what you're working with, depending on where you live, can be anywhere from $10,000. I've even seen people do a budget wedding for $5,000, okay? All the way up to, you have your 70,000, and 20 is midway. 20 is about the average cost of an average wedding with good quality food, premium alcohol, just the average things that you would want to have as far as nice things at a wedding. That's an average price. On the high end, you have your $50,000 weddings, and then of course you have your ultimate bride weddings, the celebrity weddings where there's millions of dollars. Okay, so the price of a wedding is going to really vary depending on the couple's income as well as where they live. A $20,000 wedding in DC, which is where Aaliyah and Michael live, could be an average wedding in DC, but if they lived in, say, a small town in Oklahoma or Iowa, that $20,000 would be like a $50,000 in a small town. Okay, so it's all a perception. It's all about the cost of living that you have to consider. All right, so $20,000 is what they're working with. Now, when you go into Aisle Planner, they already have everything. Let me do something there. Okay, everything is actually categorized, and you start out with, okay, who's going to plan your wedding? Are you going to plan it yourself from end to end, from beginning to end? Or are you going to hire a wedding planner or a day of coordinator, which is what Michael and Aaliyah have decided. They can afford a wedding planner. Wedding planners, depending on what your needs are, it varies, but I'm just going to throw out a price. They can be from $2,000, $2,500 up to $5,000, $10,000. Just depends on a lot of criteria. So Aaliyah and Michael can't afford a full time wedding planner that will manage their wedding from beginning to end. So they've decided on a day of coordinator. And a coordinator is just someone that will come in a couple of days before your wedding, talk to you about everything you've done so far, get your vendor information, and pretty much manage everything the day of as far as your ceremony and your reception, depending on what you work out on the day of your wedding. Okay, so they found one, and that day of coordinator is going to cost them $1,000. So they've already gone in and put in that amount. The other thing that they need to do, and that they will do as they begin to hire their vendors, and their vendors invoice them for those deposits. Because as soon as you want to hire someone, then you're going to give them a date, because Aaliyah and Mike have already decided on a date, 10/5, right? They got their venue, so they can hire all their different vendors and give them a date to see when they're available. So this coordinator is available on 10/5. Her total cost is $1,000. She invoiced them. So what they're going to do is just click on Add Invoice, and they're going to go ahead and create an invoice for the contact. Okay, day of coordinator. And here it's asking for a name, so we'll just say that the name of the coordinator is Michelle's Event. Let me just put that all in caps. Okay, so Michelle's Event Design LLC. So that's who they hired. Okay, and they're going to click on create an invoice. They enter an amount, the total amount. The first invoice that they're going to pay is, say, they're going to put down $200 because their wedding is in 30 days. So your deposits, depending on the vendor, will be based on a percentage, or they'll give you a flat amount. So this coordinator wants a couple $100 as a deposit. Okay, so we put that amount in. It creates, and here you see it keeps track. It puts in the total amount for this invoice, denotes whether it's paid or not, and they've paid this deposit, the date that they paid. They actually found this person, we'll say, on September the 2nd. And keep track of everything by putting in your check numbers. If it's PayPal, they actually paid with PayPal, and they know that it's invoice number 1267. Okay, so that's all of their information, and it's asking you, this invoice is a new line, or is this invoice the actual amount? Blah blah blah. It's a new line. All right, so we have that information in there. Okay, and we just added an invoice for the coordinator. So that's what you would do for each and every vendor that as you hire them, you enter those deposit amounts, and then they'll go back in and actually enter the total amount of the service. And what our planner will do is actually keep track and let them know that out of this total $1,000 that they estimated as far as cost, they'll put in the actual cost, which is $1,000, deduct the $200, let them know they have $800 left or due, okay, for this particular vendor. And they'll go in and add each vendor as they hire them. And as you can see, they've added the vendor's name right underneath the category. So that is what Aaliyah and Michael is going to do. And actually, Aaliyah is going to do a lot of this. Michael, you know how the guys are. They just stand on the side while the woman does a lot of the managing of the wedding. And they give their input, of course. But that's how it goes sometimes. And that's fine. Okay? So, Aaliyah went in, put in her invoice, her deposit amount, and she'll go in and add the rest of the details. All right, so when they go into Our Planner, they'll actually put in the cost of everything. Now, it gives you some actual industry averages for each category that's needed. Okay, so the next one is engagement party. They've decided they're not going to have a big party. They're just going to have their friends and immediate family, so a few friends, immediate family, and of course their parents over, and just have a dinner party at one of their homes for about $300 in food costs. Okay, then next, the bride and bridesmaid fashion. They put in an estimate of $1,250, but they know after you buy, they're not going to buy the bridesmaids' dresses, but this is the cost. This was probably the cost, like for the gown and for the veil and things like that. All the different accessories as it relates to the bride's dress. So we're going to change that and say that this is the bride's gown, and we'll say that she's going to spend about $1,000 on that. Okay, and we can go down the line and actually adjust this as we figure out how much things are going to cost as far as the accessories and everything as it relates to the gown and alterations, things like that. So these are all the things that need to be considered. If you get a dress now, since Aaliyah's getting married in 30 days, then she needs to consider, okay, you don't have that much time. It takes an average at least a month just to get alterations done on a dress. So she's going to try her best to find a dress that fits her like a glove, okay? No alterations. And if she does, alterations can run anywhere from $100 to $300. So we're just going to enter $300 for alterations. We know that that's going to happen. Jewelry, we'll say about $2 for jewelry. Okay, and then they would just go down the line with the groom's information, hair and makeup, mani-pedi. Now, as you look at each category, notice that there's gratuity for the MUA or the makeup artist. Okay, gratuity for the venue coordinator or the venue. We've already entered our venue information, okay, and we've come up with an estimate of the price for this particular venue. So yesterday we talked about Moshulu, okay, we talked about Moshulu, and we found that they had different plate prices. It's not a buffet type environment, so they've decided on the plate price that's best for them and their guests, and this is the estimated cost for that. Okay, so that's how you work out the budget. Now next we're going to talk about, I'm not going to go through each and every category, but just as you can see, these are the different categories. They'll have to go down the line, enter some estimates, and as they hire the photographer and the videographer and get the limo, transportation, things like that, they'll go in and enter the actual cost, which will be the invoices that they receive, okay, and those deposits as it relates to those vendors. Now the next thing I want to talk about, okay, we saw all the different categories for this for their wedding, but there are 5 major costs that they need to consider, and I would start with putting those costs in first. Okay, the first cost is the venue, and we did that yesterday. Okay, as it relates to their wedding, they're having their ceremony and the reception in one location, which is awesome. Okay, you don't have to drive and go between 2 different locations. You don't have to worry about that as it relates to weddings. So they're going to Moshulu for the ceremony and the reception, okay, and they've already put in their cost for that. That is the major cost of a wedding. A venue can run, and this is just an estimate, and it is at the low end. A venue can cost anywhere at minimum about $3,000-$4,000. They always require a certain percentage down, and then they tell you how much you'll need to pay, as far as maybe 50% on a specific day halfway through the mark, and then the remainder is usually a week before your actual wedding date. Okay, sometimes it's a month before. They want to make sure they get their money. So that is one of the major costs of a wedding, the venue. Okay, specifically as it relates to the reception. Ceremony is usually at a church if you have it in 2 different locations, and that's not a major cost, but the reception space is. The second major cost of a wedding is the catering, the food. You have to feed everyone, okay? They have to eat. So the catering, the food actually is included in this venue location cost, okay? So they've taken care of 2 things in one. They've taken care of where, which is the venue, and they've taken care of how they're going to feed everyone, the food cost, okay? And based on that catering cost, it includes, it's a per plate price, and the one that they decided on, I think, is like $135. It includes their premium alcohol, okay, beer, wine, and alcohol. It also includes butlered appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, and it's a 3-course meal. So they've included their alcohol, which is a big cost, all in the price of that plated meal. So second major cost, catering, food. You have to feed them. Okay, this is on the low end, $5,000. It can be anywhere up to, depending on how you make these arrangements, it can go all the way up to $10,000. Okay, if food is important to you, you might pay a little bit more for food. Okay, now thirdly, the third major cost of a wedding, first we said location, then we said food. Thirdly, we have the photographer. Okay, the photographer, you want to have memories. The photographer, and if you decide on a videographer, the photographer can run anywhere from $12.50. This is a good price depending on what package you select. You want the album or not, you want touch-ups or not. Sometimes you have to pay for an extra assistant. You pay, one assistant might be included, but if you need, depending on the location and the number of guests, things like that, then they may raise that price. But $1,250 up to maybe $4,000 is what you might pay for just the photographer, and that doesn't include the videographer. That's in a separate category. Actually, we took out the videographer. They're not going to do that. Okay, so they're just going to have a photographer. Let me go back up to where it is. Right there. So they're not going to have a videographer, just a photographer. All right, and that photographer will cost about $2,200. All right, for the photographer. There we go. All right. Oh wait, that's too much. Put in too many twos there. We'll say 2,000. There we are. Now we can close it. All right, so that's the photographer cost. That's the third major cost of a wedding. And you don't want to skimp on that. You don't want to get your cousin, your brother who's in school learning. You want to make sure you find a professional that's been doing it, that is that you know does great work. I've heard many stories where someone hired a photographer, and after the wedding they had no pictures. Okay, no pictures, because they skimped on paying for quality. Okay, paying for memories. Okay, so don't skimp on your photographer. You have to pay for this. So we had location, food, photographer. The fourth one is your dress or your gown. Okay, so we talked about it a little bit up here, and we already had a price in there of $1,000. Now that's on the low end. You know, most dresses you can get a good dress even lower than that at one of the design outlets. So you may be able to get a designer dress for $1,000 or less. So I would really look around for that. Good buy on a designer dress if you want a designer dress. Otherwise, if you just go local, you could pay anywhere from, like David's Bridal, you can pay $500 for a dress, $100 for a dress, or you could pay like $5,000, $10,000 for a dress. Okay, depends on the budget. And it doesn't look like Aaliyah and Michael have a big budget for a gown, so they've gone on the average price of about $1,000. Okay, and then lastly, the fifth major cost of a wedding would be, we said venue, we said location, we said food, the gown. Lastly, you have to decorate. Okay, you have to decorate your venue and your ceremony and reception space. Okay, now if you're going to use flowers, that's where a lot of the cost goes, and the florals. If you're going to drape the walls and have lighting and monogram floor, there's so many things that can hike that price up. But I mean, it can be, if you're a DIY bride, you can bring that price down a lot. But Aaliyah and Michael don't have a lot of time, so I'm not sure if they're going to be doing much DIY. But the decorating of the venue space is the fifth most costly part of a wedding. Okay, so that's all I have for budget. The last thing I wanted to show you is just how much does all that cost, okay, on average. So what you're looking at here is a little chart of an average wedding, and Aaliyah and Michael aren't too far off. Okay, here is the national average of a wedding, based on, not sure what city this is from. Did they base this on? It doesn't say, but this is actually, I read somewhere else that this is actually higher. It's about 30 something thousand for a wedding. Okay, and that's big city. I think it's more on the big city side, because you can do a wedding for a little less, but this is average price right now. In the 20s, 30s is on the high end. Okay, so it breaks it down and gives you how much a reception or venue price will cost. About $12,000. Photographer, we're pretty close, $22.99. Okay, flowers, decoration, remember that, $18.99 and $18.94, and that's just for the flowers. We haven't talked about adding draping and lighting and a monogram floor and all the little other nice elements that you might want to have. Calligraphy, signage everywhere. Your rehearsal dinner, about $1,000. We didn't even talk about the cake. What else? Oh, videographer, $1,486. Okay, and we're skipping on that, so we're saving some money right here. The ceremony site, which is separate in this case from the reception site, $15.99. So that's if you have it at a church. Okay, there's some places where you can get, you know, if it's your pastor, you should be able to get that church for, okay, $500, a couple $100. Okay, pastor will help you out. Average price of a gown, we were pretty close, $1,121. You know, for an average gown. Wedding planner, close. This is for a wedding planner versus a coordinator, so there's a difference in price there. So just wanted to show you really quick what stuff really costs, and one little blip I wanted to let you know. Okay, this is from 2008, so these prices have gone up just a little bit. I don't think they've gone down. They may have gone up just a little bit from 2008. Okay, so thank you for to all my live viewers for joining us for our third day of 30 Days to Us. And let me switch so you can see me. So thank you for joining us on our third day for 30 Days to Us. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the venue selection. How to select the venue, for whether it's the ceremony or reception, all the elements or things that you need to consider when you're making that selection. Okay, so that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.